They said it was temporary. The guest room in their basement smelled of mildew and disrespect. Margaret made sure I earned every sandwich. Benjamin, my husband, hadn't touched me in months. But it was his father, Richard, who scared me most. His eyes lingered. Too long. Too often. I kept the door locked at night, hugging my daughter to sleep. This wasn't a family, it was a trap. But I had nowhere else to go. Ariel died on a rainy Tuesday. She was 7. I asked for a simple funeral. Margaret insisted on a closed casket, said it was more dignified. No flowers. No photos. No memories of the child who made me feel like I mattered. Richard barely spoke. But his hand lingered too long on my shoulder as I sobbed at the gravesite. Benjamin didn't notice. He never noticed. That night, I slept in a hoodie, door barricaded with a chair. My grief wasn't safe here. I tried to leave. Margaret blocked the door. After everything we've done for you? Benjamin stood behind her, silent. Always silent. You're lucky we even let you stay here, Richard added, his voice low, eyes heavy. I wanted to scream, to pack my things and run. But I had no savings, no job, and no home to go to. So I nodded. I stayed. And I began writing, at night, in secret, everything they didn't want the world to see. It happened on a Thursday. Margaret had gone to Bible study. Benjamin was working late. Richard knocked once, then opened the door. I know what you need, he whispered. I froze. He sat on the edge of my bed. I clutched my blanket like armor. Don't. He smirked. You won't tell. Who would believe you? Then he left. That night, I didn't sleep. The next morning, I applied for the scholarship Ariel once dreamed of, but for me. I left at dawn. No goodbye. No thank you. Just a note, you'll regret everything. I took nothing but a duffel bag and Ariel's hair ribbon. Margaret's voice chased me down the driveway, but I didn't look back. For the first time in years, the air felt breathable. The bus to New York was cold. But I smiled. Because I had nothing, and that meant I had nothing left to lose. Only something to build. I lived in a shelter for 3 weeks. Slept on floors, cried in stairwells. But I wrote every day. About Ariel's favorite song. The time she made me a birthday card with glitter and macaroni. About how she died in a house filled with people who never really loved her. I titled it, Her Name Was Ariel. It went viral on a grief support forum. Then a journalist emailed me. Can we publish your story? I had no agent. No experience. But when my story reached 1 million views, publishers came calling. I signed a small deal, $5,000. Enough to rent a studio. I bought a desk, a laptop, and a photo frame for Ariel's picture. Every page I wrote made her feel closer. Every word was a wound healing. And I added something new to the manuscript. The chapter about Richard. I didn't name him. But I told the truth. By year 2, I was speaking at medical events. Rare diseases. Pediatric care. Grief advocacy. I wasn't famous, just credible. I wore fitted blazers and spoke with steady breath. People listened. Hospitals listened. When the board of the National Pediatric Foundation invited me to join as a donor advocate, I said yes. They never asked about my past. Only about what I could build. I built fast. And quietly. And I never forgot that name, Richard Wakefield. In the 4th year, I saw it. The agenda for the upcoming board vote. Wakefield Medical Expansion Project, proposed by Benjamin Wakefield. The room spun. Margaret had finally pushed him into launching his own clinic. And they needed our foundation's approval. I didn't say a word. I just highlighted his name. smiled, and RSVP'd attending to the next board meeting. The gala fundraiser was full of champagne and chandeliers. I wore black velvet and a gold brooch shaped like an A. Margaret looked older. Benjamin wore a forced smile. Richard didn't recognize me at first. But when the MC said, "Please welcome board member, Ms. Leah Summers," the color drained from his face. He spilled wine on his tie. Margaret dropped her fork. I raised my glass and nodded. This was the dinner before the bomb drops. And I had perfect aim. Benjamin stood at the podium, presenting his vision. Wakefield Children's Health Hub, our mission is access and healing. I watched. He stammered when our eyes met. He didn't know whether to call me Leah or the wife who disappeared. When it was time for board questions, I raised my hand. He froze. "Mr. Wakefield," I said calmly, "how do you plan to protect young patients from abuse, when you failed to protect the one in your own home?" Dead silence. Benjamin's mouth opened, but no sound came. And I hadn't even begun. Richard approached during intermission. His voice cracked. "Do I know you?" I sipped my champagne. "You offered to protect me once," I said. Then walked into my room uninvited. His face went pale. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. I leaned closer. "Wrong. I own a seat here. And tomorrow, I vote on your son's future." His hand trembled. He stumbled back into the crowd. I didn't follow. I never needed to. Margaret found me outside the ballroom. Her voice was still sharp, but her tone cracked. "You've changed." I turned slowly. "I had to." "You wouldn't." She blinked. "You should have told us how bad things were." I laughed once, bitterly. "I did. You said I was being dramatic." She reached for my hand. I didn't move. "You let your husband corner me, and your son bury our daughter's memory. Now I'll do what you never did, protect the next child." The boardroom was quiet. Votes were cast on paper. Anonymous, but not unknown. I wrote one word. Denied. The project failed by one vote. Benjamin stood frozen. Margaret sobbed silently. Richard didn't show up. I walked out first, heels echoing on polished tile. No speech. No gloating. Just presence. Just power. Just peace. Later that week, Benjamin called. "Why?" I was in my sunroom, Ariel's photo beside me. "You didn't defend me. You didn't believe me. You left me for dead." "I made mistakes," he whispered. "No," I said. "You made a choice. And now I did too." He begged for another meeting. I declined. I had a gala to attend. For the survivors. For the mothers. For Ariel. I titled it, "Silence is a Form of Violence." Ariel's photo sat on the cover, her smile radiant. The final chapter held no rage, just truth. The moment Richard entered my room. The silence of Margaret. The abandonment by Benjamin. And the power of rebuilding without them. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. The world knew. And when the first review called it brave and blisteringly honest, I didn't cry. I lit a candle. And whispered, "We did it, baby girl." The journalist leaned in. "What would you say to the man who tried to silence you?" I didn't flinch. "I don't speak to ghosts." One sentence. 3 million views in 24 hours. Comment after comment. She's her. This is what real power looks like. Every survivor needed to hear that. Richard couldn't show his face in public after that. He retired early. And I got invited to speak at Harvard. Wakefield Children's Clinic was in financial ruin. I bought the building through a nonprofit. We gutted the walls. Scrubbed the hallways. Replaced the brass, Wakefield, plaque with a crystal sign that read, "The Ariel Summers Center for Pediatric Hope." Margaret sent a letter. It said nothing. Just a photo of a rose. I framed it. Right beside the donation receipt. Because closure looks like flowers from the same hand that once pointed in judgment. I started a support group for grieving mothers. They came with stories, some soft, some unbearable. We cried. We laughed. We built scholarships. One of them told me, "You gave us back our dignity." I nodded, thinking of the nights I begged for dignity in a basement. Now I offered it freely. No titles. No power plays. Just women who survived. Building something beautiful from the ashes. He showed up unannounced. Benjamin. He looked older, like guilt had aged him faster. He stood at my gate, holding a single photo of Ariel. I thought, maybe you'd want this. I took it gently. A picture of her first birthday. Her cheeks messy with cake. I smiled. Thank you. He waited. But I said nothing more. I closed the gates softly. Because some chapters aren't meant to be rewritten. Just, closed. The night of the awards ceremony, I wore a navy gown and pinned gold A on my chest. Ariel's initial. The lights were bright. The applause loud. But in my head, I only heard her laugh. When they handed me the Humanitarian Legacy Award, I didn't cry. I just whispered, "This is for every mother who stayed silent, because no one believed her." The room stood in silence. Then exploded with claps. Somewhere, I think Ariel clapped too. It arrived in a cream envelope. Handwritten. Margaret's script was shaky. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't try to explain. She just wrote. "You were right. We failed her. And we failed you. I only hope your story saves someone else." I folded it and placed it inside Ariel's old music box. Some apologies don't heal. But they help the bleeding slow. A little girl tugged at my blazer after a school speech. "Are you the lady who named the hospital?" I smiled. "Yes, sweetie." "Was Ariel your daughter?" "She was. She still is." "Then she's lucky," the girl said. "Because she made you brave." I blinked away tears. Yes, she did. Every year, I read Ariel's story to a new group of children. Her name lives in their mouths now. Not in grief, but in strength. The last page of my next book reads, "Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes, it walks in heels, signs the check, and leaves quietly. And sometimes, it comes with a child's smile and a gold letter A. No revenge speech. No shouting. Just truth. Just presence. Just the life I built from the silence they gave me. And a daughter whose light could never be buried, not even by shame." I passed by the Wakefield house once. It was smaller than I remembered. Richard's car was gone. Margaret's roses had withered. Benjamin no longer lived there. I stood by the gate and breathed. Then walked away. I didn't need revenge. I had something better. A legacy. A story. And the quiet, powerful truth that in the end, I won.